just 1 week after we got back from Bank of America Stadium watching the Chargers beat the Panthers, we went to Pittsburgh, PA, Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field. Heinz Field. I didn't even know it was called something different until we went there, and then the game day pin that we got that said not Heinz Field. I was like, when did they change their name? Apparently a long time ago. I just never paid attention. Uh, I actually really liked this stadium. The area was nice. We didn't. We stayed. We drove, stayed. I think somewhere in West Virginia. It was like 40 minutes away from the stadium. Got up, drove to the stadium. We ended up stopping at the interstate was backed up real bad, but I was like, this is weird that we're going here, but it's backed up going that way still. We ended up taking, I think it was called the Gateway Clipper. Um, but yeah, we ended up taking an exit like two or three before the stadium. So we got out of it and we got on a Gateway Clipper, which was like a riverboat, just like a riverboat taxi that took you from this side of the river just straight across the river to the backside of the stadium. And we were in and out. The boat ride was cool. We got to see like PNC Park that's just a couple blocks away. There was some sort of like zip line going from like this edge of the river on top of the mountain over. Really, really neat, very cool area. The stadium was awesome. All the history. Steelers are like one of the winningest franchises in all of sports, so they have a lot of history. It's all kind of out. Uh, I know that I think the draft was just there this year, and they've started to kind of renovate the stadium in some way. I don't know how they were doing it. I think it was just seats, like they're putting in padded seats or something. And it's like, I think during the draft, they were 50% complete, and it's supposed to be completely done next football season. I thought the Steelers fans were kind of going to be not the best, but surprisingly, they were fine, at least the ones we had interactions with. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the stadium, the only real knock I can give on the stadium was normally when we get to a stadium, I like to get in and then walk a big loop all the way around the stadium just to see everything. You don't know what's where, what's not. This is the only stadium we've been to. Not true. We got one more that's not a typical stadium, but that you can't walk all the way around. Like you come in and then that's your section. That's it. We kind of asked like an attendant, uh, how do we see the other parts of the stadium? And she's like, well, that's the one thing about Heinz Field that you can't really walk around the whole stadium. You kind of get in the door, and then these sections are your whole thing. But there's like a to go to the upper level. If you took the stairs up to the upper level, she said there was like a crosswalk bridge or pedestrian bridge that would take you from like this side to that side. And but you still wouldn't be able to see the whole stadium, but you would be able to get up higher to kind of like see the stadium. That's my one true knock. I mean, aisles weren't like super wide. I actually had a there was like a kid with his dad right beside me, right on top of each other, basically. Uh, yeah, but we did not have a bad experience with the stadium. The riverboat across the way was really cool, and I actually really enjoyed the stadium. We ended up giving it an 8.6 out of 10, which is the second highest to this point. It's only behind the Colts. I feel like the Colts' stadium, Lucas Oil, is newer, so they kind of get that. But on the outside, Heinz Field is just really neat. The area it's in, Lucas Oil just kind of beats it with like comfortability. You get to walk around the whole stadium, so the only true knock that I can really have on the Steelers Stadium. And back to the fans, how I was kind of talking about them. We didn't have a bad experience with any of the fans. I thought we were actually going to get heckled. This was the one stadium where there were like almost no Charger fans at all, so we didn't have anything in common. So I was like, hey, we're probably going to get heckled a little bit here to my wife, but we didn't. We actually met some fans and ate with them because they don't have many like sit down like spots in the concourse area. So we kind of like went to just like a little stand up table, and these other fans came up to us and they started like talking our head off. Like, why are you guys here? And I was like, well, the Chargers are here. I'm trying to see all the stadiums. We had that. The only like slightly bad experience is back to that kid that sat right next to me. That was not very old. I would say no older than 8, but older than like 5. So between 5 and 8. And I don't know if it was his first Steeler game or whatnot, but like the Steeler fans, they give out the terrible towel. That's another thing I could knock the stadium. I like getting free stuff even if I'm not part of that thing. This is one of the stadiums that we went to where we didn't get anything at all. But that kid had a terrible towel and he couldn't really like roll his wrist. So he was constantly like doing one of these, and the towel kept hitting me, and it was all game. And when we left, my wife was like, hey, you should have like said something. And I was like, he's a kid. He's just here to kind of enjoy the game. I don't know. I don't want to be like a bad experience for the child never wanting to go to the game because, and I was like, if he would have been like 30 and hit me with the towel, maybe I would have said something like, hey, can you like do it in your other hand or something, hit your dad and quit hitting me in the face. But it was fine. Face, shoulder, that was it. That was really the only little small thing, again, that I can knock the fan experience. But we ended up giving the fans an 8.6 out of 10 here because just to have random Steeler fans come up to you and ask things is different. Normally, I'm always the one like, hey, how's this? What do you recommend? Whatnot. They kind of came up and told us what we should try, what we should avoid, whatnot. There's that right there, the Chuck Wagon soda. They suggested that. It was like a root beer float, basically. We got it. It was good. We appreciate it. Don't know your names. Don't know if I'll ever meet you again. I do know you guys were from Canada. But sorry, but we really do appreciate you guys. Concourse. Again, not being able to walk around the whole stadium kind of held the concourse back a bit for me. And then they didn't have like a bunch of options. They did have good stuff, but we ate at one of the places that were in the stadium the night before, and we did not know. But then we got to the stadium, and it's like, well, crap, that's the same exact thing you ordered last night that they're serving here. So I can't remember what we ended up getting other than the Chuck Wagon. I think we got like some sort of pierogi or something, and it was pretty good. But yeah, concourse area, they don't have like a bunch of options, but what they did have was very nice. And then the ice cream float she really liked. We ended up giving it a 7.6 out of 10, mainly just because concourse area was, even though it was huge, like very, very crowded. Even with just like your 3 sections that are allowed in your part of the stadium, very, very hard to maneuver and get around without being like, hey, sorry guys. So small knocks there. Overall, concourse was good. I wish they had a little bit more options, and I wish you could walk around the stadium. But 7.6 out of 10 is not bad. Value was okay. It's a little bit on the lower end. We ended up getting 2 tickets, section 108, row B, so second row. The ticket cost was $609.48 for 2 tickets. Not the best, but okay, kind of about an average of what we pay for tickets like that. Our gas, we actually drove here. We only spent $73.02 there and back. We spent $20 on parking to get into the Gateway Clipper Riverboat Express or whatever it was. We ended up spending $157.62 on food. The Gateway Clipper, I think, was $15 a person too, but it was totally worth it just to not have to worry about it. And then also the biggest benefit is when like the Chargers lost this game. Herbert rolled his ankle at the end of the Panthers game, trying to make a play when they were already up 26-3, and completely rolled his ankle. And I think he re-injured. They didn't even know if he was going to play in this game. He did end up playing, but he ended up leaving like I think right after halftime. They came back. It was the first drive, and he limped off the field completely. And I was like, I think the game was only like 10-10 at the time. And I was like, okay, we just need to make one play. We'll win the game. But he rolled his ankle, just awful. There was a kid right beside my wife that was like, he said it was his first game he's ever been to, and he was like, thank God Herbert's playing today, because I would have been mad if I would have spent a bunch of money on tickets just for him to not play, and then he got hurt. So he was kind of upset there, but I was like, hey, it's part of the game. He'll be fine. He'll play next week. But yeah, we ended up spending $157.62 on food, and then $130.52 on our hotel stay. One of the cheaper hotel stays we've had in a while. So yeah, we ended up giving it a 7.4 out of 10. Value was pretty good. Stay tonight. In total, we spent $990.64. So just a smidge higher than what we spent at the Panthers. But yeah, stadium was really cool. Fans were awesome. Concourse was pretty good. Value was fine. With all this being said, my few knocks on the stadium are not being able to walk around the whole stadium. Concourse not being like, even though it's huge, it's not, I don't know if it needs set up a little differently or if it's just there was that many people always taking like breaks at the same time, eating, going to the bathroom. So it not being that wide, not being a bunch of food options since you're closed off, you only had like, I think it was 3 options. That, and then the kid just hit me with the towel for almost the entire game that time. I wanted one. I got all my other towels when we went to the Titans game. We got one. The Panthers, we got the flags. The Packers, I got like a beer cooler, like a little foldable cooler. The only stadiums we haven't got anything at is the Bears, which we sat way up in the nosebleeds at that. They probably never give anything to anybody there. The Vikings, which I need to lower the score of the Vikings because I really just was not a fan of their stadium or like almost anything they had to offer there. And then now the Steelers. The Steelers didn't give us anything. You'd think they would just have a terrible towel at every seat every week because that's all I remember watching games as a kid growing up is Steelers games. All you would see is that yellow flag just waving in the air the whole time. But yeah, we ended up giving it a total of an 8.05, which is the second best. It only ranks slightly behind the Colts, just by a smidge. I actually really liked it. I love the city. I want to go to PNC Park, hopefully before Paul Skeens gets traded, signs with another team, see him on the mound, hopefully do a bobblehead night. But yeah, 8.5 out of 10, or 8.05 out of 10. Heinz Field needs to change the name back to Heinz Field, not Acrisure stadium, and it'd probably go up a little bit just from changing the name back. I know Steeler fans are probably all up in arms and agree with that, but is what it is. Sponsors are sponsors, and